evening, everybody, and welcome to Bloom Thursday. I am Lola Moore Johnston, your host, and I'm glad to be back. So, how's everybody doing? I would love to see in the comments where you are watching from. Make sure you let me know where it is that you're watching from. I missed you guys so much, and I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me on tonight. So, where are you watching from? And while you do that, won't you go and share this broadcast with a friend? Let them know Bloom Thursdays is on tonight. Hello, Ms. Mitchell. She's watching from the New Orleans area. So good to see you tonight. Where's everybody watching from? I would love, love, love to hear from you. I also want to say thank you to those who reached out to encourage me and let me know that you missed Bloom Thursdays. I took some time off, y'all. So thank you so much for letting me know you missed it. And thanks for coming back. So I see Miss Tracy Reese Reed, who is in here from Nashville. Good evening, Miss Tracy. Good to see you tonight. Well, I'm not going to be on here long. I just wanted to come in and get restarted. I looked at the calendar, and what felt like I took 2 or 3 weeks off, I saw it was 5 weeks. So, when you get out of a routine, it can slip away from you. So that's why you're supposed to be in your routines and keeping up with what you do, because once you get out of routine, it goes away. Hi, Miss Myrna from the Bronx. Said the Bronx, the BX is back. Good to see you. And yes, we are back. So good evening, good evening, good evening. Many of you who have tuned in tonight have seen that I have been advertising a little something that I'm working on. I will be sharing that with you later, so make sure that you don't just hop right off. I want to share with you what I've been working on. But tonight I wanted to talk about something that's really important to me, something that I think is really important for all of us, something that I think we should all be paying attention to, and that is clarity. Getting clear. And part of my work when I was away from you all was doing some work around clarity. I wanted to get clear. And so I realized that there's a way that I really wanted to reapproach what I was doing so that I was making sure to do work that was meaningful and not just active. And so there's a couple of things that I'd like to introduce to our time together that would help me to be able to be purposeful and actually effective and not just active. The one thing that many of you have asked, and I want to be intentional about, is telling you how you can sow into the Bloom movement. You see, we're trying to do things, we're trying to grow, we're trying to pull things together. And so if you would like to give a donation to the Bloom movement, you can do so at Cash App Bloom Everywhere. So that's Bloom Everywhere. If you want to give, you can do that there. I also want to let you know what it is that we are doing. And so I wanted to share with you, and I hope this is the right dimension, but we are doing, in fact, let me make sure it's the right dimension rather than hoping. We are doing an event called Bloom in the Dark. Bloom in the Dark. We've been talking about that. Talking about it, and finally going to do it. It is going to be October the 14th through October the 17th. And so we hope that you can join us there at Bloom in the Dark. You can register for Bloom in the Dark at www.mybloomcon.com. That's where you can register for Bloom in the Dark. www.mybloomcon, like my Bloom Conference.com. If you want to be a part of the Bloom in the Dark conference, it is going to be amazing. You may remember that we just finished reading a book some weeks ago called Success from the Inside Out by Ms. Nona Jones, who is a pastor and who is the director for faith initiatives at Facebook. She is our keynote speaker. And so if you enjoyed Nona's book, if you enjoyed connecting with her through her story, she will be our keynote speaker on that Wednesday night at Bloom in the Dark. So make sure you don't miss that. mybloomcon.com. We also have an affiliate program which would allow you to create a code after you have registered. And when you share that code with other people in your church, in your organization, however much, then there is a financial kickback that you get for every person who has registered under your name. I wanted to make sure that those who may be having some financial challenges or who just like to hustle would have an opportunity to do that. So you can sign up for our ambassador program right after you have registered. So let's jump into our subject for tonight, which is clarity. So I want to ask first, what does being clear mean for you? When I say gaining clarity, I'll go to the comments. What does being clear mean for you? When you think about what it is that you're doing in your life, when you think about what it is you're called to, when you come to this space, when you come to Bloom Thursdays and we talk about your unique brilliance, what would it mean for you to be clear, and what does clarity mean for you? We have a broad definition. Those of us who have a command of the English language understand the definition of the word clarity, but I want to know, what does clarity mean to you? So Miss Tracy says, no confusion. That's a great answer. No confusion. So being clear, having clarity means not being confused, okay? Anybody else, what does clarity mean for you? When we talk about launching into your calling, when we talk about launching into your area of interest, when we talk about launching into your passion, a lot of people don't know which way to jump because they are not clear. So I want to ask again, what does clarity mean for you? When I talk about you seeing a picture and you being clear about it, what is it that it means for you? Miss Harolyn says it means being able to have an understanding of a subject, person, or incident. Now, she went to a dictionary definition, but that's it. Clarity is there. So when I took my time, I wanted to make sure that I was being clear, right? I wanted to be clear because I wanted to get clear. I wanted to do the work of clarifying the investments of time, money, and energy that I would make. I wanted to clarify. I wanted to be fully aware of and not confused about the investments of time, money, and energy that I will make. And I find that many of us are burned out. Many of us are running around like chickens with our head cut off because we are active, but we're not clear. And so we're doing things and we're getting results that we really don't want, or we're getting results that we have not expected, we have not calculated. We're just doing things and stuff is coming up. It's kind of like planting a garden. And if you were to plant a garden, if you planted that garden without a plan, then you can find yourself just grabbing a handful of seeds and just throwing them out in a patch of dirt. Well, if you throw them out in that patch of dirt, a lot of stuff will happen. There's some of those seeds that will sprout. There's some of those seeds, the Bible talks to us about a sower that went out to sow. He's just throwing seeds. Some of those seeds are going to be eaten by birds. Some of those seeds are going to sprout up a little bit. Some of them are going to be choked out and killed. Some will actually fall in good ground and grow. But we don't have to plant like that in our lives. If you're wanting to actually have a harvest in your life, you would sit down and plan what it is that you want to do. So you can know in your area that your area might be good for growing tomatoes, growing cucumbers and squash, growing things like that. And so what you do is you take the plot of land that you have available and you measure it out. You want to look and see how deep the dirt is. You want to understand what kind of soil you have, because some of the soil that we have right now is not even good soil to grow in. So you would waste a whole lot of time, money, effort in trying to grow something in soil that's not prepared. So number one, you want to know if your soil is right. what kind of soil you have, what area you're in, what grows in that area. And once you have figured all of that stuff out, then you can go into a plan to reap a harvest that you want. Can you imagine a person planting a whole harvest of strawberries and they're allergic? Just going out, planting strawberries, watering strawberries, and they're allergic to strawberries. And so now they have actually reaped a harvest that is not beneficial to them. And I want to say in the onset of this time together that a lot of us are planting and reaping things that are harmful for us. We are reaping relationships that are detrimental. We're pouring into friendships, pouring into romantic connections that are not good for us because we are not clear about, number one, who we are. We're not clear about what we want. We're not clear about the outcomes that we can expect. We're not even clear about what we can get out of a situation. We believe that we are less than or more than what we are. And so we start to invest in things that we cannot carry to the end. And so tonight I want to talk about being clear, because once you get clear, then you can actually forecast what it is that you're going to get and work intentionally about that. Ms. Myrna says it's talking about being intentional and decisive about your actions. And that word decisive is very important. Decisive comes from the Latin word that means to cut. When you make a decision, it means that you're moving in a direction and you have cut off possibilities in another direction. If I've decided to wear this jacket, then I have a whole closet of possibilities that I have cut off because I have chosen this one. And another thing that's challenging for us is that we have not cut anything off. We've said we want to go to school, but we haven't cut off fooling with Netflix all night. We haven't cut off the financial investments that we're making in shoes and bags that should be going to classes. When you make a decision, you have to make a cut. And so this is why we have to be clear. We have to be clear in order to move forward. So the first question, right, that I want to ask, and you can answer here or you can answer privately. You may want to get out a sheet of paper and do this exercise. My question for you is, what do you want? Period. What do you want? I don't want to talk about what it is that you think you can afford. I don't want to talk about what it is that you think you deserve. I want to talk about what you want, right? Because God says in his word that when we serve God, that he will give us the desires of our heart. When we actually submit our desires to him, he will give us the desires of our heart. So the question is, on a piece of paper or here in the chat, what do you want? What do you want? I know that I want to build a platform that helps people to become purposefully masterful. They understand their purpose. I want them to be the master of their own purpose. And I want them to understand being faithful. So faithful productivity. So my two outcomes for you is to get to a place where you have mastered your purpose and you are faithfully productive. So I always go back to the story of the gentleman that leaves his servants at the house and he gives them these talents. And it is their job to be faithfully productive, to understand what they have and to be faithful at producing it. But many of us are having challenges there because we have not answered that one question. What do you want? Even in the chat right here, I have not seen one person articulate, what do you want? So just, if you have it on a piece of paper, if you have it in your mind, that's the first question I want to ask you tonight. What do you want? What do you want from your life? What do you want from your potential? What do you want from your relationships? What do you want from your time? When you sit down in the evening and you recline in your chair and you're able to sit down and eat something that you want to eat, what is it that you want to have accomplished with your life? And when you get clear about that, when you understand what it is that you want, now you can start to move forward decisively. You know what to cut. Okay, so here it is. When you get clear, right? First off, you can draw a line between what you can do and what you are called to do. What you can do and what you're called to do. So look at this. I can halfway cook. I've been killing quiches the last couple of days. Oh my goodness. I can actually cook. Okay. I have an ability to go in the kitchen and come out with something that is not just edible, but that is delicious. I can do that. But my calling in life is not cooking. Okay. There's some people who are called to cook. We know them. When we go to Big Mama house for Thanksgiving, we thank God that she was called to cook. Hallelujah. I can cook, but I am not called to cook. And there's some things that you can do, but you are not called to do. And if you lack clarity around what it is that you are called to do, you will spend your whole life simply doing things you can do. So because you can clean, you do clean. Because you can tutor, you do tutor. Because you can be a deaconess at the church, you are a deaconess at the church. Because you can drive, you do drive. Because you can make a little money on the side with Mary Kay, you do Mary Kay. But many of us are doing all of these things and putting all of this good energy into this stuff because we can do it, but it is not what you are called to do. Does this make sense? Please say yes in the chat if what I'm saying makes sense, because y'all quiet tonight. Either I'm stepping on your toes or you going to sleep. Does this make sense? That a lot of us are spending time doing things that we're able to do, things that we have learned to do, stuff that we pick up easily, but we are not called to do. And when you do that, you burn precious energy and time that you could be investing in what you are called to do. Okay, so I want you to look at your life and I want you to see if your life is a can-do life or a call to life. Is it a can-do life or a call to life? Are you simply in a job because it's a good, stable job, like your mom and all of them used to tell us, right? You got to get a good job with good benefits. Are you simply there because you can put numbers together and do accounting, or are you called to accounting? Are you in position because you can speak, or are you called to speak? Are you in a position because you can cook, or are you called to cook? So we want to get cleared here. Clarity helps us to draw the line between what you can do and what you are called to do. Miss Harolyn said y'all quiet because I'm stepping on your toes. Okay, that's all I needed. As long as y'all was out there, I'm okay. Thank you, Miss Harolyn. Okay, so with that, you want to figure out this clarity because it will help you to get between what you can do and what you're actually called to do. I can do a little bit of hair. I started wearing my hair naturally, so you'll see that the style is a little different than it was. I'm trying to see if I can get my hair to curl up like really, really well. And so I stopped putting a whole lot of heat in my hair. So I've realized that I could braid hair. I can get in there. I could do a crochet in my hair. Listen, if I was in a real tight pinch, I could probably put a weave in my hair by myself. But I am not called to do hair. No, I am not. I can do hair, but I'm not called to do hair. And so if I find myself doing a whole job of hair, then I find myself upset and angry every time I go to work because I'm doing something I can do and not what I'm called to do. Is this making sense? Miss Tracy, we're going to try to get through that tonight. Okay. We're going to address that tonight. So Miss Michelle Ali said her current status is that she has a can-do situation, but she's going to set a goal of a called situation. Amen. May we all have that goal tonight. So then secondly, not only does it help you to draw a line between what you can do and what you're called to do, secondly, clarity helps you to bring your best energy to what matters most. We've all been in this situation. where we have spent so much time at the job, so much time doing stuff at work, that when we come home and our kids want to have time with us, when they want to play, when our husbands, our wives want to come and talk to us and spend time with us, we've fallen asleep because we have taken all of our good energy and spent it out there. Spent it out there with customer service, spent it out there in a cubicle, spent it out there doing stuff out there. And so when we get to the things that really count, the things that really matter, we don't have energy to really engage in that. And I'm telling you, that's one thing that's frustrated me in parts of my life where I love music. I love to sing. Miss Tracy, I'm called to be a worshiper, but I was spending so much time doing other work that when it was time to sing, it was time to spend time with music, I didn't have the time or the voice to do it because I had spent all of my good energy in other places. So when we get clear, y'all, that means that we can actually reserve ourselves so that our good energy goes to the stuff that matters most. That we're actually making decisions about our time, making decisions about how much energy we give to stuff so that the best energy goes to the things that matter most. So let's talk about one thing that maybe some of our younger viewers tonight deal with, and that's social media, right? We've all seen it. We come into a controversial conversation, people just scrapping on social media. I mean, just going two blows, verbally, all day long, going back and forth to each other because they want to be right, because they want their position to be heard, because their position makes sense to them. But all of that energy that they have spent in that conversation is energy that they could have actually invested in something that mattered. So what is the quality of their relationships if they have spent all of their energy in that conversation on social media, and now they just bring in the rest to their loved ones, the rest to their kids, the rest to their spouse, the rest to the work that they're actually called to? When we get clear, we actually can reserve, we can actually put our time together so that the best of us goes to the most important places. And wouldn't that be a wonderful thing? If in your life, in your situation, you weren't just riding along with the waves, you were actually intentionally investing yourself in finite fragments, in finite percentages, so that you could bring your best energy to the places that matter most. That's the kind of life I want to live, where I'm actually being my best in the places that matter the most. And in order to do that, we have to be clear. So I want to say this third one here, that clarity transitions us from being active to actually being effective. So watch this. How many of you have ever had a chock full schedule? I mean, you going from meeting to meeting, appointment to appointment, you doing all kind of stuff, full schedule, but you really haven't accomplished anything. I mean, you've been busy for sure. They say idle hands are the devil's workshop, and nobody could ever accuse you of being idle. But have you ever looked at all of the activity that you've been a part of and realize that you have not actually accomplished the things that you really want to accomplish? That you look at all of the activity that you've involved yourself in, and you look over your life, and I mean, you've done a lot of little things here, there, and the third, but you don't really have any real legacy that you're proud of to present. And we as women will do this to ourselves because we have a girlfriend over here who's having a hard time. So we invest ourselves in her and she's getting her life together. And we have our kids who have these science projects. And so we invest ourselves in the science project to get that together. And then there's a DIY project that we saw on TV. And so we put our energy in the DIY project. And we have all of these little things that we have done. But when we look at the sum total of our activity, we realize we have not really accomplished something we're proud of. This is why clarity is important, because clarity will help you to understand what you personally need to do and what you can delegate so that you reserve yourself for purposed moments. I think I told y'all about this when I was thinking about getting a new mail service, and I realized that it was going to take me probably 2 or 3 days in order to figure out how to move my mailing list from one service to another. But the Lord gave me a word and said, delegate. So I called somebody and I paid them $20, and them $20 freed up 2 days of my time because I was willing to pass this actual task to somebody that was called to do it. And so many of us find ourselves being active doing this little stuff that we don't have to do ourselves because we feel like activity means that we're actually accomplishing something. You could be totally active and not accomplish a thing. So here we go. Miss Tracy says, sometimes we're so busy doing for others that we can't think clearly about what we need to do for ourselves. This is rough. And Miss Myrna said, number 3 is hurting. I'm so sorry. Let me pull back a little bit and add some little Novocaine to it. You are worth the energy that it takes to get clear so that you can actually accomplish things that matter for you. Yes, you need to help somebody who, if they're show up on your doorstep and all this kind of stuff. But man, there are preparations that you can make ahead of time if you know your uncle every 15th of the month is going to need $50. You can forecast that stuff. You can take the energy out of it so that you're not always using your good energy for this stuff. You can transition from being active to being effective. Does this make sense? I heard Miss Myrna say it's hurting. Does it make sense for anybody else? Finding yourself being active, but not actually being effective. Realizing that you're doing a whole lot of stuff, but you haven't really accomplished much. Does that make sense to anybody else? And I'm going to keep moving. I want to make sure that I'm talking to the right group. So look, you've heard these 3. It's hurting a little bit because you're saying, oh man, I realize I'm not clear. I'm doing a lot of stuff. People really, they enjoy what I do. They enjoy the time they spend with me, but I haven't really accomplished much. I realize my legacy is not in place because I'm not clear about what I'm supposed to be doing. This is how you get clear. How you get clear on your why. If you need to write this down, write it down. It's going to be in the YouTube channel. You can go back to it. It's going to stay here on my Facebook page or on the Bloom Movement page. But make sure that if you need to get back to this, spend some time with it. Okay. So I'm going to go to the lightest area to the heaviest area. Number 1, I want you to pay attention to the activities and encounters that actually bring you joy. What is it that you do that gives life to you? Miss Tracy said earlier, she's a worshiper. When she's in worship, that is what actually feeds her spirit. What is it for you? Is it when you make a meal and you look around at the table and everybody is quietly, all you hear is forks and knives hitting the plate? You're like, is that what it is for you? Maybe it's when you give a lecture and your students who were muddy in the beginning actually come to clarity at the end. Or perhaps it's a time when you sing a song and you have expended yourself and the people receive it. What is it that actually brings you joy? And listen, it can be anything, but you have to be clear about what it is. What is it that you enjoy? What is it that you love? That is more than likely a signal of what it is that God has called you to in your life. I want to ask you another thing, or talk about another way that you can do this. I want you to carve out intentional time to get quiet and prayerful about your calling. When I do my 14-day purpose project, I actually ask the women and gentlemen who are part of that project to start prioritizing their time in the morning and just asking God what it is that they were made to do. And do you know that there has been very few people who have come to God without unconfessed sin in their lives, who have asked God, what is it that I'm supposed to do? And they didn't get any answer. Now, sometimes they get a verbal answer from God that they jotted down. Other times they will get an answer that comes out of conversation. But I think I'm batting 100 batting 1,000 for those who have actually engaged God for what it is that he is calling them to. And God told them. I think I got couple of people here on the line who have spent some time with God intentionally over 2 weeks, intentionally over a month, intentionally over 6 months, who have just spent time with God and asked God, what was I created to do? And when they asked God, God told them, you're created to do this. And again, it might come through conversation. It might come through recollection of what it is that when you were a child, you enjoyed doing, that people might have told you not to do, or things that you might have thought that you weren't equipped to do. But you have to get quiet and prayerful in moments, spending time with God and asking him what it is that you were created to do. And then finally, I want you to give yourself the space, the room to journal the revelation that you receive in a notebook specifically designed for those thoughts. Okay? You're going to journal the revelation that you've received in a notebook that is specifically designed for those thoughts. If you don't have that kind of notebook, I actually have something for you. And it is a little journal that I put together real quick for people trying to do just that. You can go to lolajohnston.com/gift. If you've been a part of my programs, you might have this journal already. But for those who don't have the journal, I want you to download the journal. It's a 14-day journal that would just walk you through scripture to talk to you about how it is that you get clear on what it is that God has created you to do. And many of us have thought that we have to jump up and run out the door, every morning, and not been intentional about spending time with God. Can I put a little parenthetical pause in here? I believe that for a lot of us, COVID-19, this quarantine season is meant to be that time where we actually take control of our schedules again. You do not have to be in the rat race if you don't want to. And I don't care how busy your schedule is. You can make a determination about how you will spend your 24 hours. If you know you need to spend 8 hours dealing with a project, then you determine how the other 16 hours will go. You determine where you will put your energy and how you will spend your time. And some of us, that means that we're going to go to bed early. We're going to wake up a little earlier so that we can spend this intentional time with God. But isn't being clear and finally feeling like you can actually walk boldly in your purpose worth you spending this time with God? I mean, just asking God, what is it that I'm created for? And out of that, you can receive the revelation you need to know that God has called you for something specific. Listen, I believe that everybody has been called for a specific purpose. I believe that everybody has something that God is calling you to, but many of us have allowed the busyness of life to get in the way and cause us not to be clear about what God is calling us to. So this is what I want you to do. If you have not engaged that process, I want you to go and download this little journal here, lolajohnnston.com/gift. And it will be a PDF cover or PDF journal that will help you to walk through 14 days of just seeking God around your purpose, okay? And then I want you to also consider attending the Bloom in the Dark conference. Bloom in the Dark happens October the 14th through the 17th. The VIP day is on the 18th. I'm telling you, it is an opportunity that you do not want to miss. Many of you were a part of the regular Bloom Everywhere. This one is going even deeper to talk about how it is that you can accomplish and live out your purpose in life's dark seasons. We're going to have Nona Jones, who is the person who wrote Success from the Inside Out. Simona Watts. Many of you know her. You've heard her story of how she lost her young son to brain cancer. We'll also have Kimberly Bolgen, pastor in Wichita, Kansas. She's going to talk to us about her own story of finding God after abuse. We're going to look at also the story that comes from Paula Olivier, and we're going to look at Evelyn Fordham Goodman, and then Dr. Morgan Medlock, who is the chief medical director here in Washington, D.C. It is going to be an incredible time, and I encourage you to just hurry over there to mybloomcon.com. Get your ticket now because it is going to be incredible. Most of all, I believe that you are built to bloom. You are built to walk out what God has called you to. And so I want to encourage you, don't delay. Make sure you're doing this work. Finally, you want to sow into the Bloom movement, Cash App, Bloom everywhere. And I'm telling you, God is doing something new. I am back here next Thursday. So make sure that you're sharing with your friends and family. Bloom Thursdays is back. So I want to make sure I see all of you along with your friends, and ensure that you are living out your purpose every day. I love you. I cannot wait to see you at Bloom in the dark. I cannot wait to encourage you through the Bloom journal. And I just encourage you, do what you need to do to get clear about your life and purpose. God bless you. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll see you again next week at Bloom Thursdays. Good night.